There are certain souls who walk this earth with a sense of quiet knowing, a feeling that they are here for something more, something deeper, something that most cannot quite grasp. These are the ones often called the chosen. Not chosen in an egotistical sense, as if above others, but chosen in the sense of being called to awaken, to rise, to bring light into the world in a way that demands sacrifice, solitude, and immense inner strength. And because of this, many of them find it difficult, even painful, to be around large groups of people for extended periods of time. It's not that they dislike people. In fact, most chosen souls carry within them a profound compassion for humanity. They feel deeply for others, sometimes too deeply. They see the pain behind smiles, the confusion hidden behind confidence, and the unspoken cries in the eyes of those around them. They can sense the energy of a room before a single word is spoken. This heightened awareness is a gift, but it can also feel like a burden. For when you feel everything so intensely, when you absorb emotions like a sponge, the noise of too many energies at once can become overwhelming. Imagine standing in a crowded room where every person is broadcasting their inner world, their fears, frustrations, desires, and insecurities, not through words, but through vibration. A chosen one can feel that. They might not consciously understand it, but their energy field picks it up. The tension between two people across the room, the silent suffering of someone pretending to be fine, the nervous excitement of another, all of it enters their awareness like waves crashing against the shore. It's exhausting, and yet it's part of their nature. The chosen cannot help but feel, for that sensitivity is exactly what allows them to heal, guide, and transform the energy of others. This is why solitude is not loneliness for the chosen one, it's restoration. Time alone is when they return to their center, cleanse the energy they've absorbed, and reconnect with their inner light. Being around too many people for too long can scatter their energy, blur their intuition, and drain their spirit. Solitude, on the other hand, refills their cup. It's the space where they can hear the voice of their soul clearly again, where divine inspiration can flow freely, and where their sense of peace can be restored. Many chosen ones struggle with the idea that they should be more social, more outgoing, more like others. But their path is different. Their sensitivity, their introversion, their need for solitude, these are not weaknesses, they are sacred design. They are the qualities that allow a chosen one to connect deeply with the unseen, to hear whispers of wisdom that others miss, to notice the subtleties of life that others overlook. Their quiet nature is not a flaw to be fixed. It is the stillness that allows them to receive divine guidance. When a chosen one is surrounded by too many people, they can feel their own energy begin to dim. The world moves fast, conversations are shallow, and the energy in crowded places is often chaotic. The chosen one feels this discord deeply, because their vibration naturally seeks harmony. They thrive in environments that are balanced, peaceful, and aligned with authenticity. In crowds, where many people wear masks or carry unprocessed emotions, the chosen one can feel energetically suffocated. They don't necessarily know why. They just feel uneasy, drained, or disconnected. This isn't arrogance or antisocial behavior, it's energetic sensitivity. The truth is, many chosen ones are empaths in the truest sense of the word. They feel the emotions of others as if those emotions were their own. This is both a blessing and a challenge. On one hand, it gives them the power to heal, to comfort, and to understand others at a level that transcends words. On the other hand, it can leave them feeling overwhelmed, emotionally exhausted, or even physically tired after being in social settings for too long. Their nervous systems process energy differently. They don't just observe, they absorb. This is why chosen ones often gravitate toward nature, silence, and solitude. The earth, the trees, the wind, these things do not demand anything from them. They offer energy that is pure, neutral, and healing. In nature, the chosen one's energy can expand freely without interference. They can breathe again. They can release the energetic residue of others and realign with the rhythm of the universe. This connection to solitude is not about avoidance. It's about balance. The chosen one understands that to give light, they must first remain connected to it. Many chosen ones are born with a mission, a sole purpose that requires them to walk a path less traveled. This mission often calls them to inner work, reflection, and deep personal transformation. They cannot fulfill this calling if they are constantly distracted by the noise of the world. Their growth requires silence, introspection, and the willingness to face themselves in solitude. It's in the quiet moments, when the world is still, that the chosen one receives their insights, visions, and understanding. It's where they hear the voice of their higher self guiding them forward. Some people may misinterpret their need for space as detachment or aloofness, but that's not the case. The chosen one's love for humanity runs deep, but their connection to people is not about constant interaction. It's about energetic resonance. They connect most deeply with those whose energy aligns with truth, kindness, and authenticity. When the chosen one finds such souls, they can be incredibly warm, loyal, and present. But when surrounded by energies that are dense, chaotic, or superficial, they instinctively retreat. It's not judgment, it's energetic self-preservation. There is also another layer to this truth. The chosen one's energy is powerful, often too powerful for those who are not ready for it. Their presence can trigger others' unhealed wounds, insecurities, or fears. They mirror truth back to others simply by being themselves. Sometimes, people unconsciously react to that truth with resistance or discomfort. The chosen one feels this and may withdraw to avoid unnecessary conflict or misunderstanding. They are not meant to fit into every space. They are meant to hold a certain frequency that elevates spaces simply through their presence, even if from afar. This is why chosen ones are often called light bearers or keepers of balance. They are the ones who absorb the darkness, transmute it, and radiate peace. But this process takes energy. It's like tending a sacred flame. It requires care, focus, and protection. If they spend too much time around chaotic energy, their flame can flicker or dim. That's why chosen ones often go through cycles of social engagement and withdrawal. They go out into the world, share their light, and then retreat to restore it. This rhythm is natural, necessary, and divine. There's also a spiritual aspect to why the chosen cannot always be around a lot of people. Their frequency operates at a higher vibration, a vibration of awareness, compassion, and truth. When this vibration enters spaces where the energy is lower, it can create friction. They can feel that friction, physically and emotionally. This is why they prefer to be in spaces that are energetically harmonious, where the vibration matches their own. It's not about superiority, it's about resonance. A high-frequency soul cannot thrive in an environment that constantly drains or disrupts their energy. As the chosen one grows spiritually, they begin to understand this truth more clearly. They stop forcing themselves to fit into places or groups that feel misaligned. They learn that their peace is sacred, their energy is precious, and their solitude is not loneliness, it is power. They stop apologizing for needing time alone. They stop explaining why they can't handle certain environments. Instead, they learn to honor their sensitivity as a gift, not a flaw. They begin to live with intention, choosing peace over noise, truth over popularity, and authenticity over approval. In time, the chosen one realizes that their journey is not about isolation, but about alignment. They don't need to be around a lot of people to make an impact. Their energy, when aligned and pure, affects the world in unseen ways. The kindness they express, the love they radiate, and the wisdom they share ripple out far beyond their immediate circle. Their light touches people even when they are not physically present. This is the quiet power of the chosen. They influence through vibration, not volume. So if you are someone who feels this way, if being around too many people leaves you drained, if you crave solitude, if you feel different from others, know this: you are not broken, you are not strange, you are sensitive because you were designed to feel deeply. You were meant to sense what others cannot, to heal what others overlook, and to see beyond the surface. Your solitude is not a punishment, it's preparation. The quiet moments you spend alone are shaping you into who you were always meant to be. Embrace your solitude, honor your need for peace. Protect your energy like the sacred treasure it is. The world doesn't need you to be everywhere. It needs you to be aligned, centered, and in tune with your purpose. Your light will reach those who are meant to see it, even from a distance. You are not meant to walk the same path as everyone else. You are meant to walk the path that was carved specifically for your soul. And on that path, solitude is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally. There is a sacred reason why those who walk the path of awakening, the ones often called the chosen, feel an unexplainable heaviness when surrounded by too many people. It is not arrogance, it is not antisocial behavior, it is energetic intelligence. Their soul has evolved to a level of sensitivity that is no longer compatible with noise, chaos, or the artificial layers that most people live behind. They crave depth, stillness, truth, and energy that feels clean. And in a world that often thrives on distraction, gossip, and masks, that kind of energy is rare. The chosen one has walked through pain that most cannot see. Their awakening came through trials that stripped away illusions, forcing them to face their deepest fears and truths. In that process, they became transparent to themselves. Every wound, every emotion, every energy within them became known and felt. This inner transparency doesn't go away once achieved. It remains, making them equally aware of the energies outside of them. That is why they feel so much when they step into a room. They don't just notice people, they feel them. Their energy field reads vibrations like a tuning fork, instantly picking up on tension, dishonesty, joy, sadness, and everything in between. Because of this heightened sensitivity, large groups or crowded environments can become overwhelming. The chosen one doesn't just hear the noise of conversations, they hear the noise of emotion. Every unspoken insecurity, every hidden frustration, every suppressed desire hums in the background, vibrating into their consciousness. It's not something they can control, it's part of their spiritual design. Their energy system is built to receive, but that same gift that allows them to heal and understand also exposes them to collective chaos, which can be draining if not managed carefully. This is why chosen ones are often drawn to solitude. Their solitude is not loneliness, it is a recalibration. It's the time they need to discharge the energy they've absorbed, to clear their field, and to reconnect with the divine frequency that nourishes them. In solitude, they can breathe freely, their thoughts slow, their emotions settle, and they can once again hear the voice of their higher self. It is in silence that they realign with truth, because truth, for them, is not found in the noise of the world, but in the whisper of the soul. Many chosen ones carry an ancient energy, a soul memory of lifetimes spent in devotion, service, or wisdom. They have always been seekers, monks, healers, philosophers, teachers, wanderers. They came into this lifetime already sensitive, already tuned to the subtleties of existence. But the modern world, with its rush and noise and constant stimulation, can feel foreign to such souls. They sense that something about the pace of society is out of balance. The endless chatter, the superficiality of conversation, the pursuit of things that don't nourish the spirit, all of it feels heavy to them. Their soul longs for authenticity, for silence, for connection that is real and raw. When a chosen one is around too many people, they begin to lose that clarity. The collective energy of others starts to mingle with their own, creating confusion. They can start feeling emotions that aren't theirs, anxiety, sadness, irritation, because their energetic boundaries are porous. This can lead them to question themselves, to wonder why they feel off without reason. But the truth is, they're feeling the world. They're carrying the emotions of others like invisible weights, and until they return to solitude, they can't fully discern what belongs to them and what doesn't. Over time, chosen ones learn to protect their energy. They begin to see solitude not as isolation, but as sacred maintenance. They understand that to be of service to others, to share their light effectively, they must first keep their energy clean. They learn grounding practices, deep breathing, meditation, connection to nature, to discharge excess energy. They learn discernment, to sense which environments nourish them and which deplete them. They learn to say no, to withdraw when needed without guilt, because they realize that their presence, their clarity, their vibration, these are their greatest offerings to the world. And to maintain that purity, they must honor their own space. There's also another profound reason why chosen ones struggle with being around too many people. They are mirrors. Their energy reflects truth. When people come into contact with them, their own hidden emotions, wounds, and shadows often surface. The chosen one doesn't do this intentionally. It happens naturally because their energy is pure. In their presence, falseness cannot hide for long. People begin to feel their own discomfort, their own unresolved pain, and sometimes they project that discomfort onto the chosen one. They may feel uneasy without knowing why, and the chosen one, sensitive as they are, feels that reaction immediately. They sense the tension, the resistance, the unspoken judgments, and it hurts, not because they seek approval, but because they feel everything so deeply. This is why they often prefer to stay in environments where the energy is neutral or aligned. They crave authenticity, honesty, and peace. They do not fear people, but they fear losing their own balance amidst people's noise. For them, being around energy that is chaotic is like standing in strong wind. Their inner flame flickers, and because they've spent so long building that flame, nurturing it through hardship and healing, they protect it fiercely. Their solitude becomes their temple, their place of worship, where they commune with the divine and remember who they are. Another aspect of this truth lies in frequency. The chosen ones vibrate at a higher frequency because they've cleared layers of pain, fear, and ego through their spiritual journey. This higher vibration doesn't make them better than others. It simply means they resonate at a finer level of awareness. When they're around people whose energy is denser, filled with unhealed wounds or negativity, they can feel the dissonance. It's like listening to music that's out of tune. The contrast creates discomfort. The chosen one doesn't judge those vibrations, but their system naturally seeks coherence, peace, and harmony. When the dissonance becomes too strong, their body and soul instinctively want to withdraw to restore equilibrium. But this withdrawal serves a greater purpose. Each time a chosen one retreats, they are not escaping the world. They are recharging so they can serve it better. In their solitude, they integrate lessons, receive insights, and anchor light into their being. When they re-emerge, they bring that energy with them, subtly uplifting those they encounter. They may not say much, but their presence shifts energy. Their calm becomes contagious. Their silence becomes healing. This is the paradox of the chosen. They need solitude to serve humanity. Being unable to be around too many people is also a form of protection. The chosen one's path is delicate. They carry missions that require clarity, intuition, and inner strength. Too much external noise can interfere with divine guidance. When they are alone, they can hear that quiet voice within, the voice that directs them toward their next step, their next lesson, their next act of service. The divine often speaks in whispers, not shouts, and in crowds, whispers are drowned out. That's why chosen ones are often led into seasons of isolation, not as punishment, but as preparation. In those quiet seasons, they are being refined, strengthened, and aligned with purpose. There's a deep peace that chosen ones find in their own company. They come to understand that solitude is not empty, it's full of presence, it's full of divine conversation, of creativity, of revelation. It's in solitude that they write, create, dream, and heal. They become conduits for inspiration. They begin to see their solitude as sacred time with God, with the universe, with Source, however they define the divine. This shift in perspective transforms loneliness into devotion. They realize that being alone is not being without, it's being with everything. And yet, even with this awareness, chosen ones sometimes feel misunderstood. The world praises extroversion, busyness, and constant social engagement. But the chosen one walks a quieter road. They move slowly, intentionally, guided not by noise but by intuition. They may lose friends, distance themselves from certain circles, or feel alien in their own communities. But as they grow, they learn to accept this solitude with grace. They begin to see that their path was never meant to be crowded. It was meant to be walked in communion with spirit, with peace, with the few souls who truly see them. Over time, chosen ones begin to attract those who vibrate like them, calm, grounded, awake souls. These are the people they can sit with in silence and still feel understood. There's no pressure to perform, no energy drain. These connections are rare but deeply nourishing. And that's the beauty of the chosen path. It teaches discernment. It teaches you to value quality over quantity, depth over surface, truth over approval. So when the chosen one says, "I just can't be around a lot of people," it is not weakness, it is wisdom. They have learned what drains them and what restores them. They have learned that preserving their energy is essential to fulfilling their purpose. They have learned that solitude is their medicine, their recharge, their sanctuary. They understand that their light shines brightest, not when they are everywhere, but when they are fully themselves. And being fully themselves often requires stepping away, breathing deeply, and returning to the stillness from which their strength flows. To the chosen one reading this, remember, your need for solitude is not a flaw, it is your alignment with truth. You were not meant to blend in, you were meant to tune in. The world may never fully understand your silence, but your soul does. Trust it, protect it, honor it. Because when you do, your light will illuminate the world, not by being everywhere, but by being authentic, calm, and divinely connected. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when they begin to understand that their solitude is not just a preference, it is part of their initiation. It is not simply that they cannot be around too many people, it's that their soul requires periods of energetic refinement that cannot happen in the noise of the world. To hold higher light, they must be still. To channel wisdom, they must be quiet. To become who they are meant to be, they must sometimes step away from everyone and everything that distracts them from that inner calling. The chosen one's path is unlike any other. While others may thrive in the energy of constant social engagement, the chosen one thrives in silence. They draw strength not from crowds, but from communion, with spirit, with nature, with the quiet spaces between thoughts. This doesn't mean they reject humanity. On the contrary, they love humanity so deeply that they feel its energy in every breath. But that sensitivity also means they feel its pain, its confusion, its density. They walk into a room and immediately sense who is burdened, who is pretending, who is at peace, who is lost. They absorb it all, and if they are not careful, it becomes heavy. This is why their soul protects them by creating discomfort in certain environments. That feeling of being unable to be around a lot of people is often divine guidance. The body's signal that the energy is too crowded, too chaotic, too disconnected from truth. Their higher self knows that in such spaces, their vibration begins to lower, their thoughts become cloudy, their intuition quiets, and their energy drains. It's not personal, it's energetic law. Two vibrations cannot coexist in harmony unless they are aligned. The chosen one's vibration, fine-tuned to awareness, cannot easily remain stable amidst the frequencies of fear, gossip, ego, or pretense. So they retreat. Not because they reject people, but because they are protecting their alignment. The chosen one's energy operates like a clear glass of water. When it's alone, it's still, pure, and reflective. But when placed in a crowded environment full of turbulent emotions and mental chatter, it's like someone dropping pebbles, dust, and ripples into that water. The clarity fades, the reflection distorts. That's what happens energetically when they spend too long in crowded or chaotic spaces. Their inner stillness gets disrupted. To restore it, they need solitude. They need time to let the ripples settle, the dust fall, and the water clear again. Only then can they reflect light with purity. Another truth is that chosen ones carry within them a frequency that naturally amplifies the energy of others. Wherever they go, Their presence intensifies what's already there. If someone is loving and calm, that energy grows around them. But if someone is angry or anxious, that too can amplify. This is part of their gift. They are mirrors and amplifiers. Their vibration draws out truth, magnifying whatever energy is near. This is why some people feel incredibly peaceful around them, while others feel uncomfortable. It's not about judgment, it's about resonance. Their presence awakens what is hidden, and in a world where many are still avoiding their shadows, this can cause tension. Because of this, the chosen one's energy needs to be protected like sacred fire. Fire can warm, illuminate, and transform, but when exposed to too much wind, it flickers. So the chosen one learns to guard their flame. They learn to be selective about where they go, who they spend time with, and what environments they enter. They learn to listen to their body's signals, the tightening of the chest, the fatigue that comes from certain interactions, the intuitive sense that says enough. These signals are not weakness, they are wisdom, they are the language of energy. For the chosen one, silence is not empty. It is full of information. It's the space where they hear the voice of the divine, the intuition that guides them toward their purpose. In crowds, that voice becomes faint, drowned by the noise of others' thoughts. But in solitude, it becomes a song. They begin to receive insights that feel like whispers from eternity, reminders of why they came here, what they are meant to do, and who they truly are. Every chosen one must learn to trust that voice. It's the compass that keeps them aligned in a world of distractions. Their isolation is not a curse, it is training. During these quiet periods, they are being refined. The universe strips away attachments, illusions, and external identities so that their true essence can emerge. They learn to be content with their own company. They learn to find peace not in validation, but in self-awareness. They learn that their worth is not determined by how many people like them, but by how deeply they embody their truth. This solitude transforms them from seekers into sages, from wanderers into anchors of light. The chosen one often experiences deep loneliness during this process, not because they lack people, but because few understand them. They speak a language of energy, intuition, and vibration in a world that worships logic, noise, and busyness. They see beyond appearances and feel truths that others deny. This can make them feel alien, even among friends or family. They long for connection, but can't sustain surface-level conversations that lack authenticity. They yearn for souls who meet them in depth, who see with the heart and not the eyes. Until such souls appear, they remain alone, but not lonely because they are learning the beauty of inner companionship. Over time, the chosen one realizes that this separation was never punishment, it was preparation. In solitude, they cultivate strength that doesn't depend on external energy. They learn to source their peace from within, to recharge directly from the divine. This independence makes them unshakable. When they do re-enter the world, they no longer absorb chaos, they transmute it. Their energy becomes stable, magnetic, healing. People begin to feel calm around them, not because they change their behavior, but because the chosen one's vibration resets the room. Their very presence becomes a sanctuary. This ability to transmute energy is what makes chosen ones so vital. But to hold that level of power, they must first learn discipline. They must learn when to engage and when to withdraw. They must master the art of boundaries, not walls of fear, but filters of discernment. They must understand that protecting their energy is not selfish, it's sacred service. Because when their energy is clear, their intuition sharpens, their creativity flows, and their impact multiplies. But when it's drained or scattered, their light dims, and their gifts lie dormant. Being unable to be around too many people then is part of their soul's intelligence. It's how they stay aligned with their purpose. The chosen one is not here to entertain crowds. They are here to influence consciousness. Their work often happens quietly, invisibly, in the energetic realms. A conversation that shifts one person's heart, a word that sparks healing, an energy that soothes a troubled mind. These small, silent acts create ripples that affect thousands. The chosen one may not always see their impact, but it is real, and that's why their energy must be preserved. The world will not always understand this. People may call them distant, antisocial, or strange. They may question their choices to withdraw or remain silent. But the chosen one knows that their silence speaks louder than noise. They know that their stillness is their strength. They know that when they guard their energy, they are not avoiding the world. They are holding space for it to heal. Their restraint, their peace, their detachment, these are not weaknesses, they are evidence of mastery. There's also a higher truth. The chosen one's path alternates between solitude and service. The universe pulls them inward to refine them, then sends them outward to radiate what they've learned. Each retreat prepares them for a deeper impact. Each silence deepens their wisdom. Each moment of solitude strengthens their light. They are like the moon, invisible for a time, then returning to shine, brighter and clearer than before. This rhythm is divine. To deny it is to go against the flow of their own nature. In solitude, they learn self-trust. They learn that they do not need external validation to know their worth. They learn that their peace is not dependent on circumstances, but on alignment. They learn to listen to the subtle language of their body, their emotions, their intuition. They learn that the greatest companionship they will ever have is with their higher self, the part of them that is eternal, infinite, and pure light. When the chosen one finally accepts this, everything changes. They no longer fight their need for space. They no longer feel guilty for stepping away. They stop explaining themselves to those who cannot understand. Instead, they move with quiet confidence, knowing that their solitude is sacred ground. They spend time with people intentionally, not out of obligation. They enter spaces with awareness, not with fear. They carry their light quietly but powerfully, touching lives simply by being authentic. And so, if you find yourself unable to be around too many people, know that it's not because something is wrong with you. It's because something is right with you. You are tuning to a frequency that requires peace. You are remembering that your energy is precious. You are awakening to the truth that not everyone can walk beside you. Not because they're bad, but because your soul's path leads through terrain they have not yet reached. And that's okay. Your journey is sacred. Your solitude is holy. In time, you will find your tribe, souls whose energy feels like home. But until then, cherish your silence. Protect your space. Fill it with beauty, wisdom, and light. Because the world doesn't need your constant presence. It needs your clear presence. It doesn't need you everywhere. It needs you aligned. When your spirit is rested, when your energy is pure, your very existence becomes medicine for others. So embrace the quiet. Trust the pull towards solitude. You are not running away. You are rising higher. You are not rejecting the world. You are preparing to heal it. And that, in itself, is the sacred path of the chosen. There is a stage in every chosen one's awakening where solitude begins to reveal its true purpose, not as isolation, not as loneliness, but as transformation. What once felt like separation begins to feel like sacred space. What once felt like emptiness begins to feel like infinite presence. This is when the chosen one realizes that solitude is not something that happens to them. It is something that happens for them. It is the divine's way of sculpting the soul into its purest shape, away from the distractions and distortions of the world. It is in this sacred stillness that they begin to remember who they really are. When the noise of the world fades, the voice within becomes clearer. The chosen one begins to hear the whispers of intuition, the guidance of the higher self, and the subtle frequencies of truth that cannot be heard in chaos. These whispers teach them how to move, when to act, and when to be still. They begin to understand that solitude is the classroom where they learn the language of energy, the art of alignment, and the rhythm of divine timing. This knowledge cannot be learned in the crowd. It must be absorbed in silence. The chosen one learns that to lead others, they must first learn to lead their own energy. In the quiet, they begin to heal. The world outside often rewards masks, performance, validation, and fitting in. But in solitude, there is nowhere to hide. Every emotion rises to the surface. Every suppressed wound begins to speak. Every false identity begins to crumble. This is uncomfortable, sometimes even painful, but it is sacred work. because only through awareness can healing happen. The chosen one learns to face themselves completely, the light and the shadow, without running. They begin to love the parts of themselves they once denied. They learn that true power is born from radical self-acceptance. Through this process, they start to release the energies that no longer serve them. Old fears, inherited patterns, emotional debris. Each layer they shed brings them closer to their essence. And as they purify inwardly, their external world begins to shift too. They attract peace where chaos once lived. They magnetize truth where illusion once surrounded them. Their frequency changes, and with it, their reality. This is why chosen ones cannot remain in the same environments or relationships forever. Their vibration evolves, and not everyone or everything can rise with them. Solitude becomes the forge in which they are remade. It teaches them how to be whole without external approval, how to find joy without constant stimulation, and how to sustain peace no matter what happens outside. In solitude, they learn the difference between loneliness and aloneness. Loneliness is the absence of others. Aloneness is the presence of self. And in that presence, they discover that they are never truly alone. The same divine energy that moves the stars lives within them, breathing through their lungs, beating through their heart, whispering through their thoughts. Once this realization dawns, everything changes. The chosen one stops seeking connection as a way to fill emptiness and begins connecting from fullness. They no longer enter relationships out of need, but out of overflow. They no longer look for others to complete them because they have found completion within. And ironically, it is in this state of wholeness that the most authentic connections begin to form. For it is only when one no longer seeks validation that one begins to attract true resonance. Many people misunderstand the chosen one's solitude. They see it as detachment, as coldness, as distance. But in truth, it is sacred responsibility. The chosen one knows that their energy is precious, that it influences, transforms, and transmits wherever it goes. They understand that if their inner world is not clear, their outer world will reflect confusion. So they take time away, not to escape others, but to cleanse themselves of the noise that the world constantly projects. They step away, not out of superiority, but out of humility, because they know how fragile alignment can be when surrounded by chaos. Solitude teaches them to anchor peace in the middle of storms. It's easy to feel calm when everything is calm, but the chosen one learns to remain still even when the world shakes. This is the mastery that solitude builds: emotional stability, mental clarity, and energetic sovereignty. In that quiet training ground, they learn that peace is not the absence of challenge, but the ability to stay centered despite it. And once they master this, no crowd, no chaos, no circumstance can pull them off their path. In this stage, the chosen one begins to awaken to their purpose in a deeper way. They begin to see patterns, how every moment of isolation, every heartbreak, every rejection was a form of divine choreography designed to align them with their mission. The solitude that once felt like punishment now reveals itself as preparation. Every time they were forced to stand alone, they were being taught resilience. Every time they were misunderstood, they were being taught authenticity. Every time they were pulled away from the crowd, they were being shown how to hear truth directly from the source instead of through others. And when they finally emerge from this sacred cocoon, they are different. Their energy feels grounded, their words carry power, their silence commands respect. They don't seek attention, it finds them. They don't chase opportunities, they attract them. They don't beg for belonging, they create belonging within themselves. People sense this difference even if they can't explain it. The chosen one's energy feels like still water, calm, deep, and magnetic. It draws others in without force. But even after reaching this state, they know they must still honor their need for solitude. The chosen one's energy expands through cycles: connection and withdrawal, expression and reflection, presence and rest. Just as the ocean has tides, so too does their spirit. They must ebb to flow. They must retreat to rise. Each time they pull back from the world, they are refilling their own cup, recharging their light, and receiving new codes of wisdom to share when they return. They also begin to realize that their solitude has been protecting their destiny. Not everyone can handle the magnitude of their calling. Not everyone can understand the intensity of their energy. Some would try to limit them, some would project fear onto them, and some would drain them unconsciously. The universe keeps them separate until their discernment is strong enough to navigate these energies with grace. It is only when their inner boundaries are firm that they can stand in the world without losing themselves. In the quiet, they learn that their power doesn't need permission. They no longer dim their light to fit into places that feel wrong. They stop explaining their absence to people who were never meant to understand their purpose. They realize that solitude is not about hiding. It's about standing in the truth of who they are without compromise. In that truth, they find freedom. There is also another layer. Solitude sharpens the chosen one's spiritual senses. When they are alone, they can hear the vibration of truth in people's voices, see the energy behind words, and feel the subtle shifts in environments. They become attuned to synchronicities, signs, numbers, dreams, sensations, the quiet ways the universe communicates. They begin to realize that life itself is a conversation with the divine, and that conversation can only be heard when the noise is silenced. Eventually, solitude becomes their teacher, their healer, their sanctuary. It's where they receive their downloads, their insights, their visions. It's where they remember their ancient wisdom and their eternal connection to Source. It's where they cleanse themselves from the density of the material world. And it's where they rediscover simplicity, the simple joy of breathing, of being, of existing in awareness. When the chosen one emerges from solitude, they are not the same as before. Their eyes see deeper. Their presence feels heavier, in the best way, anchored, intentional, awake. They move slower, speak with purpose, and radiate calm. They no longer react, they respond. They no longer chase, they attract. They no longer seek control, they embody surrender. This is the alchemy of solitude. It turns ordinary souls into conduits of divine energy. The chosen one comes to understand that solitude is not about cutting themselves off from others forever. It's about finding a balance, learning how to be in the world, but not of it. They learn how to engage without absorbing, how to love without losing themselves, how to give without depleting. They learn that the real power is not in being around people constantly, but in being able to hold their energy steady no matter who is around. And so, the chosen one walks the earth differently. They are both part of the world and beyond it. They can enter any space and shift it quietly, simply by being present. Their solitude taught them how to master energy, how to hold peace, how to transmit healing without words. They are no longer afraid of being alone, because they know that solitude is the soil from which all power grows. In the end, they realize that solitude was never separation. It was sacred alignment. It was the divine hand guiding them inward so that they could return to the world as light embodied. It was the universe whispering, "Before you lead others, you must first learn to lead yourself." And once that lesson is learned, their solitude transforms from something they endure into something they cherish. Because now they understand, the chosen one's power does not come from the crowd. It comes from the quiet. It comes from the unseen moments when they sit with their own spirit and listen. It comes from the trust that even in silence, the divine is speaking. And that is why chosen ones cannot be around too many people for too long. Not because they are broken, but because their light needs space to breathe. Their peace needs room to grow. Their purpose needs silence to speak. There comes a sacred point in the journey of every chosen one, where solitude no longer feels like exile, but initiation, where silence no longer feels like emptiness, but expansion, where being unable to be around many people no longer feels like limitation, but liberation, because they finally understand what their spirit has been preparing them for all along, that their separation from the noise was not a rejection of humanity, but a calling to serve it from a higher plane of awareness. This realization changes everything. The chosen one begins to see that the isolation, the disconnection, and the long nights of stillness were never punishment. They were purification. Each period of distance was a divine recalibration, stripping away what was not theirs, detaching them from energies that would distort their truth, and aligning them with the frequency of their purpose. The chosen one learns that their energy is meant to move differently. While most people are shaped by the world, the chosen one is sent to reshape the world, but to do that, they must first master their own vibration. This is why the chosen one cannot stay long in chaotic crowds or superficial spaces, because their soul is tuned to harmony. Their spirit is like a finely crafted instrument, and too much discord throws it out of tune. When they are surrounded by people who speak without awareness, act without intention, or carry unresolved pain, their body feels it. Their nervous system senses every fluctuation of energy, every unspoken emotion, every suppressed truth. It's not judgment, it's sensitivity. It's the gift of perception turned inward. And so, to preserve their clarity, they pull away, they retreat into stillness where they can hear their own vibration again, unclouded, uncorrupted, pure. Over time, this solitude becomes sacred. It becomes their temple, the space where they merge with the divine frequency that guides them. They meditate, they reflect, they listen, not to the world, but to the voice that created it. This voice teaches them balance, compassion, wisdom, and patience. It reveals that their gift is not to fit into society's rhythm, but to embody a rhythm that will one day change it. They are being taught how to carry peace where there is chaos, how to hold light where there is confusion, how to be still even as the world moves. The chosen one realizes that their sensitivity is not a weakness to be managed, but a strength to be understood, because in feeling everything so deeply, they can heal on levels most cannot. When they walk into a room, they feel the heaviness others ignore. When they speak truth, they cut through illusions others have normalized. When they love, they do so without boundaries, channeling the same unconditional essence that flows through creation itself. This capacity to sense, to feel, to know, it is what makes them healers, teachers, leaders, and visionaries. But such sensitivity can only become power when it is disciplined, and that discipline is cultivated in solitude. In their alone time, the chosen one learns the language of energy, how to identify when something feels off, how to release what isn't theirs, how to recharge, and how to strengthen their aura so that they can walk among people without absorbing their pain. They begin to see that solitude is their training ground, the place where they become spiritually fit. Like a warrior practicing in silence before the battle, they refine their spirit in stillness before entering the world again. And when they do, their energy speaks louder than words. They don't need to convince anyone, their presence does the work. Eventually, the chosen one reaches a state where they can walk among people without losing themselves. They can attend the gatherings, share their energy, help those who seek them, but they no longer depend on anyone for peace. Their inner equilibrium has become unshakable. They no longer carry the energy of others. Instead, they carry the vibration of truth, and that truth transforms the energy around them. Where they once absorbed, they now emit. Where they once felt drained, they now radiate. They become a source of stillness in motion, a living example of what alignment feels like. People begin to notice this. They may not understand it consciously, but they feel it. The chosen one's calm becomes magnetic. Their silence speaks of something eternal. Their eyes reflect a depth that makes others question their own lives. Without saying much, they awaken curiosity in others. Curiosity about peace, about presence, about purpose. And this is where the true purpose of their solitude begins to unfold. The chosen one realizes that the reason they couldn't stay around everyone before was because they were being prepared to carry an energy that would one day uplift everyone they touched. They no longer see themselves as isolated. They understand that their solitude connected them directly to the source of all. It's what made them strong enough to stand alone, wise enough to see clearly, and compassionate enough to love unconditionally. From this place their service begins, not through loud proclamations or crowds of followers, but through subtle influence. A chosen one's impact is often invisible, but profound. Their vibration alters spaces, their presence heals, Their words reach hearts that are ready. Their energy activates remembrance in others, remembrance of who they truly are. The chosen one begins to see that their role is not to be popular, but to be powerful in presence. They are not meant to blend in, but to embody balance so deeply that others feel safe to rise into it too. Their journey of solitude becomes their greatest teaching, because in learning to be at peace in their own company, they teach others how to find peace in theirs. In learning to hear the voice of spirit in silence, they inspire others to seek their own truth. Their example becomes medicine. Their existence becomes a mirror. It's also during this stage that the chosen one learns to navigate the paradox of connection, how to love deeply while remaining detached, how to give without expectation, how to walk among pain without absorbing it. They understand that empathy without boundaries becomes self-destruction. So, they love through presence, not performance. They serve through alignment, not obligation. They radiate light without trying to save everyone, knowing that each soul awakens in divine timing. This wisdom allows them to engage with humanity without losing their balance again. And yet, they still honor their solitude. Even as they begin to share their energy more, they know that their power is sustained in silence. They return to it regularly, as one would return to sacred waters to be cleansed. Every time they retreat, they recharge. Every time they listen, they remember. Every time they are alone, they return to unity with the divine. This rhythm becomes natural. Outward to serve, inward to restore. Outward to give, inward to receive. This flow keeps them balanced, whole, and luminous. At a deeper level, the chosen one also realizes that being unable to be around many people was the universe's way of keeping their energy pure while their soul matured. Had they remained constantly surrounded by others, they might have forgotten their truth under the weight of the world's projections. They might have tried to please, to conform, to shrink their light for acceptance. But solitude preserved their authenticity. It protected the seed of their purpose until it was strong enough to withstand the winds of judgment. See, that seed has grown roots, deep, grounded, and unmovable. The chosen one no longer resents their solitude. They see it as the greatest blessing. It taught them patience when nothing made sense. It taught them trust when doors closed. It taught them faith when the path was dark. It turned their inner wounds into wisdom. It transformed their pain into presence. It taught them that everything they were searching for outside was always within. And now, when they walk into the world again, they carry that inner temple wherever they go. Their peace travels with them. Their light expands naturally. Their mission unfolds effortlessly. People may still misunderstand them, and that's okay. They no longer need to be understood. They are content to be who they are. They understand that truth does not require explanation, and peace does not require validation. They know that their energy will reach who it's meant to reach, and so they walk quietly but powerfully through life, healing without announcing it, teaching without preaching, leading without controlling. Their existence becomes prayer. Their breath becomes presence. Their solitude becomes legacy. This is the paradox of the chosen one's journey. To become one with all, they first had to stand alone. To connect deeply, they first had to detach. To guide others, they first had to find their own way. To bring light to the world, they first had to face their own darkness. And in doing so, they became something rare. Not just a person of knowledge, but a person of wisdom. Not just a speaker of truth, but a vessel of it. Their energy itself becomes the teaching. In the end, they realized that being unable to be around many people was never about rejection or superiority. It was about protection, purification, and preparation. It was how the universe taught them to preserve their power until they could wield it with grace. It was how they learned to listen deeply, love purely, and live consciously. It was how they remembered who they are, a being of light temporarily walking in human form, carrying frequencies that remind others of home. So if you are one of these souls, if you've always wondered why you couldn't be around too many people, why solitude feels like oxygen, why silence feels like truth, understand that it's because your spirit is tuned differently. You were designed for depth, not noise. You were created to sense, not to conform. You were born to walk the path few can walk, so that you could show others what freedom truly feels like. Your solitude is your sanctuary, your silence is your strength, and your peace, that quiet, radiant energy that flows through you when you are alone, is your greatest contribution to the world. Because when a chosen one walks in peace, the world around them begins to remember peace too. And that, ultimately, is why they came here.